Before I begin, I just want to say thank you, dear viewers, for joining me today. Your time is precious, and I'm truly grateful you're here to share in my story. If you're comfortable, drop a comment below. Let me know where you're tuning in from and what time it is there. I'm Eloise Beaumont, and at 76 years young, I've got a tale to tell that's woven with love, loss, and the quiet power that comes from turning heartbreak into something unbreakable. So settle in with a warm cup of tea, and let's journey back together. My name is Eloise Beaumont, and I've spent my life surrounded by the whispers of history, in a world where every object tells a story if you listen closely enough. Born in the vibrant streets of New Orleans, where the jazz notes float like spirits on the bayou breeze, I built my haven around family, curiosity, and the simple magic of discovering hidden gems. For nearly 55 years, I was the guardian of Beaumont's timeless treasures, our family's historic antique shop, a charming two-story building in the French Quarter, filled with rare artifacts, dusty tomes, and forgotten relics from eras long past. Picture it. Creaky oak floors polished by time, glass cases displaying Civil War medals, Victorian jewelry, and Creole folk art. Secret alcoves where customers could uncover a hidden music box or a faded daguerreotype. And an upstairs loft where I restored pieces with my own hands, breathing life back into forgotten histories. To my daughter, Celeste, and her husband, Marcus, I'm just Nana, the eccentric collector who sends quirky postcards with antique stamps and bakes beignets in my modest shotgun house on the edge of the quarter. They view me as a gentle soul fading into the sunset, sustained by a small pension from my late husband's jazz musician days and occasional shop sales. But oh, my friends, how profoundly they're mistaken. My true wealth isn't in Mardi Gras masks or Bourbon Street glamour. It's a fortune I've quietly amassed from shrewd investments in art restoration tech, rare artifact auctions, and historic property flips, all guided by my trusted confidant, Sylvia Moreau, a financial strategist with a mind as sharp as a bayou gator's tooth. When my husband, Louis, passed from a sudden stroke 16 years ago, I became the sole guardian of a portfolio worth over $70 million. I kept it veiled not out of paranoia, but to truly discern the hearts around me. Would Celeste cherish me for the bedtime stories of hidden pirate treasures I told her as a child, the wisdom shared over polishing silverware? Or was she merely enduring me, awaiting a windfall she underestimated? Let me take you back to the roots of it all, to paint a fuller picture of how this shop became my life's work. It was 1965 when Louis and I, fresh from our courthouse wedding, stumbled upon the rundown building during a rain-soaked stroll through the quarter. The windows were grimy, the sign faded, but we saw potential in its bones. The high ceilings perfect for displaying chandeliers, the backyard courtyard ideal for a secret garden. We scraped together every penny from my job as a museum curator and his gig playing saxophone on Frenchman Street, and my name went on the deed because Louis's credit was spotty from a bad band loan. We transformed it into timeless treasures, starting with estate sale finds and local artisan crafts. I curated the rare items myself, hunting flea markets for treasures like a 19th century voodoo doll, or a signed first edition by Tennessee Williams. Louis handled the music events, jazz nights in the courtyard that drew crowds, while I wove the magic, hosting storytelling sessions for kids, antique appraisal clinics for elders, even a writer's circle in the loft where locals pen tales inspired by the artifacts. Celeste was born in '70, our only child, growing up amid the relics, her laughter echoing as she played with porcelain dolls or hid in the garden's jasmine vines. Those were enchanted times, when family felt like an open book of adventures, full of promise and without a hint of the shadows to come. But shadows creep in, as they do in the narrow alleys of the quarter. Celeste grew restless with our quirky life, drawn to the city's glitz. She met Marcus, an ambitious real estate developer with a charm as slick as the Mississippi mud, and they moved to the suburbs, visiting less often. Their conversation shifted to updating the shop, turning it into a trendy boutique or selling it for condos. I smiled through it, but their hints were like cracks in an antique vase, foretelling a shatter. The betrayal revealed itself not in thunderous arguments, but in the pure, unfiltered words of a child, during our family's annual Mardi Gras reunion at the shop 4 years ago. It was a balmy February evening, with the air thick with the scent of king cake and the distant roar of parades. Celeste and Marcus had insisted on helping host, but it became their spectacle, strings of purple and gold lights draping the courtyard, a catered spread of crawfish étouffée and hurricanes, and guests, mostly Marcus's developer friends, mingling amid the artifacts turned into party props. Celeste fluttered about in her sequin dress, her laughter a practiced trill as she fielded compliments on her vision for the space, barely acknowledging little Ava, our 9-year-old granddaughter and the spark of my soul. Ava, with her wide eyes and insatiable curiosity for the shop's magic items, sought me out in the loft retreat, my private oasis of antique maps and restoration tools. "Nana," she said, clambering onto my lap with the tiny locket I'd restored for her, a silver piece from the 1800s, engraved with a secret poem, not the flashy tablet from her parents. "Can we find the hidden treasure again?" I chuckled, pulling out an old map of New Orleans from the 1700s that we'd explored before, and we dove in, her giggles filling the cozy space. But as the tale reached its climax, Ava tilted her head, her voice a soft, innocent murmur. "Mommy says you're old like these dusty maps, Nana. And Daddy says they can't wait for you to drift away like a ghost, so they can sell this place and buy a big house with a pool." She wrinkled her nose, confused. "They want fancy cars and trips to Disney." Those words pierced me like a misplaced pin in a voodoo doll, sharp, unexpected, and irreparable. Celeste wasn't my daughter anymore. She was a thief in disguise, conspiring with Marcus to auction off the shop, our family's historic heart, where Louis proposed to me amid the jazz section, for a quick cash flip, perhaps to developers eyeing the quarter's prime real estate. The property, with its hidden courtyard and historic status, was mine alone, the deed solely in my name to protect it from Louis's distant relatives' claims long ago. They didn't know the full extent of my investments, but their greed for the building was palpable. I didn't let Ava see the storm brewing. I hugged her close, whispering, "Grown-ups have wild imaginations sometimes, my dear. But real magic, like in our maps, lasts forever." Inside, sorrow turned into determination, a plot twist I hadn't foreseen but was ready to author. That evening, as the reunion wound down and guests departed, I slipped away to my cottage, the night air alive with distant brass bands. Alone by the window, I reflected on Celeste's childhood, her first steps in the shop's aisles, her teen rebellions over boring antiques versus city glamour. How had my nurturing led to this entitlement? With a steady hand, I called Sylvia. "It's time," I said, my voice resolute. "Launch the relic safeguard protocol." The relic safeguard protocol was our meticulously plotted strategy, developed over years of cafe chats and financial reviews, a framework to shield my legacy and expose hidden motives. It wasn't revenge born of spite, but justice rooted in Lewis's final whisper. Preserve the treasures, Eloise. Not everyone sees the value in the past. Phase 1, the compilation. Sylvia's team executed the liquidation of 75% of my portfolio, art restoration ventures, rare artifact funds, and historic property flips, into $52 million in cash over a focused week. Visualize it. Monday, auction house bonds sold for $16 million. Tuesday, digital archive holdings fetched $22 million. By Friday, the funds were consolidated, all discreetly, like restoring a faded painting without altering its soul. Sylvia sent daily encrypted updates, rising numbers that fueled my resolve as I sat in my cottage, polishing a small locket similar to Ava's. Phase 2, the binding. That fortune founded the Beaumont Celeste Antique Heritage Trust, an irrevocable entity dedicated to safeguarding New Orleans cultural artifacts, funding restoration programs for underserved communities, and converting timeless treasures into a public museum with free workshops and exhibits. I incorporated their names intentionally, a poetic irony. Celeste and Marcus's surname would emblazon every event poster, every display case, forever linking them to a legacy of preservation they couldn't commodify or dismantle. Phase 3 sealed it. In Sylvia's warmly lit office, I signed the revised will, notarized and unbreachable. It named Celeste explicitly to forestall contests, bequeathing her my eternal maternal affection and the timeless honor of the trust's title, while directing the remainder, my cottage, personal artifact collection, and leftover investments, straight to the foundation. Once initiated, it was sealed. The assets were the trust's, protected by robust legal bindings, beyond any heir's rewrite. For 2 weeks post-Mardi Gras, I allowed them their narrative of normalcy. Celeste texted cheerily, "Mom, how was the reunion for you?" Marcus and I were brainstorming ways to revitalize the shop. Maybe a franchise model, I replied vaguely. It's got its own enduring charm, love. We'll talk soon. Meanwhile, I deepened my bond with Ava, inviting her for secret treasure hunts at the cottage. "Nana, why do Mommy and Daddy whisper about money?" she asked once, her eyes wide. I smiled gently. Sometimes people forget that the best treasures are in the tales we share, not the coins we count. Through these subplots, I shielded her from the storm, teaching her values like empathy and integrity, lessons Celeste had apparently forgotten. The summons landed like a plot reveal. A formal letter from Sylvia's firm, certified to their suburban home, mandating an urgent estate consultation. They arrived at her jazz-infused office brimming with expectation, Celeste in her chic dress, Marcus with his briefcase, their lawyer a slick operator with a calculating smile. This was their climax, they believed. A generous handover, perhaps control of the shop to launch their empire. Sylvia, with her poised demeanor and incisive wit, ushered them in and presented the volumes. Mrs. Beaumont has elegantly revised her legacy. Anticipation dissolved into shock as they pored over the documents. Trust blueprints, will updates, transfer confirmations. Marcus's jaw tightened. The shop? A public museum? With our name. Sylvia detailed it flawlessly. Assets safeguarded, property repurposed, fortune nurturing culture for ages. Celeste's voice cracked. "Mom, why? We were planning for Ava's future, our dreams. I stood, my words flowing like a well-crafted prose. Your dreams were scripted on my exit, Celeste. On erasing the chapters your father and I wrote. I've authored a legacy of enlightenment, one you can read, but never revise for profit. The confrontation boiled over. Celeste wept. This is cruel, Mom. We love you, but you're punishing us for wanting more. Marcus slammed his fist. This is theft. We'll fight it. Their lawyer spouted challenges, undue influence, incapacity. But Sylvia countered with affidavits, timelines, and precedents. They left in a rage, promising litigation. The fallout read like a gripping saga. They sued within a month, claiming my senility and a deceptive plot. But the courts unraveled their claims. The protocol predated the revelation, my sharpness verified by experts. The judge ruled firmly, burdening them with fees that ravaged their finances. Marcus's developer firm lost clients amid whispers of family greed. Celeste's social network frayed, invitations vanishing as friends sided with poor Eloise. They sold assets to cope, luxury car gone, home downsized, their marriage splintering in heated arguments. Marcus accusing Celeste of pushing too hard, she retorting his failure to deliver. Ava became my subplot of hope. Marcus tried swaying her with toys, but the girl confided in me during visits. I like your treasures better, Nana. They don't yell. I nurtured her with values like empathy and integrity, teaching her to restore a small antique locket, symbolizing healing amid conflict. Flashbacks sustained me. Louis and I in the 70s hosting our first artifact auction, the shop alive with bidders' chatter. Celeste as a girl curled up with fairy tales, her eyes alight. Moral insights emerged. Betrayal is a draft error. Revise it into strength. Justice isn't vengeance. It's balance restored. For older souls like us, hidden power lies in patience, like an artifact waiting to be discovered. 10 months later, I stood in the shop's transformed courtyard at the Trust's debut Artifact Festival. The space alive with exhibits, workshops, and artisans from the quarter. Local media raved. The Beaumont Celeste Antique Heritage Trust, a beacon for cultural preservation, honoring a family's name and community service. Celeste and Marcus watched from their unraveled lives. She in a small apartment after leaving Marcus amid the chaos, he demoted and isolated, posting cryptic reflections online. Their auction fantasies crumbled. Celeste took a part-time job. Marcus's deals dried up. At 76, I sip coffee in the shop's cafe, now a public hub, curating not just artifacts but empowerment. To my fellow elders, your value isn't in what others steal. It's in the stories you safeguard. Strength simmers in silence, justice unfolds like a well-plotted tale. Resilience? It's authoring your sequel. If bonds fray, don't close the book, rewrite with grace. And always hold the pen to your legacy. What did you think, friends? If this story touched you, smash that like button, subscribe for more heartfelt tales, and comment your thoughts below. Have you turned betrayal into triumph? Share your wisdom, we're all in this book club together. Until next time, keep turning those pages. Stay inspired.